It's been a frustrating season for the Cincinnati Bengals. At 4-9, what is the most frustrating thing about this season? Plus, the latest on Trey Hendrickson, a farewell to Jermaine Burton, and much, much more right now on Enter the Jungle. Hi again, everyone, and welcome into Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He's Andrew Fox Miller. Catch us every single Tuesday on the YouTube channel Cincinnati Bengals Talk, weekly on FanDuel Sports Network, and we're proudly brought to you by FanDuel. Make sure you check them out today, FanDuel.com/bigplay, and the holidays are here. There's no better time than right now to grab a garage beer. And Andrew, I know you've consumed your fair share of garage beers watching this 2025 Cincinnati Bengals team. Let's dive into, honestly, what's been a disappointing season, a frustrating season at 4-9, very, very slim playoff chances. What's been the most frustrating thing for you as a Bengals fan watching this team this season?
It has to be the defense. It has to be. Like, it has to be the one thing we needed to be just okay, and we couldn't get that. We couldn't get it with a new defensive coordinator. We couldn't get it after being asked to put faith in the lack of activity, really, in free agency. On top of that, running it back with the same team and some questionable draft picks. Like we had an offense this season putting up insane points with Burrow, with Joe Flacco, week in, week out. The defense went from bad to historically bad in 2025. I don't know that there's another answer to the question of what is the most frustrating thing this season. I mean, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I totally get it. And mine piggybacks off of that. It goes a bit deeper.
Go on.
The most frustrating thing for me has been all of this stuff, all of these issues, obviously the defense. It felt avoidable, and none of it's in hindsight. I found out, I don't know if I told you, but I found out about the Demetrius Knight selection a little bit before it happened. Like that was the plan. And I was like, oh my God, if they do this, this is awful. By the way, I'm not being mean to Demetrius Knight here. It obviously hasn't worked out. It was just too early to draft him. I think he's a good guy and may end up being a good player. This is not personal, to be clear. But in the moment, I was like, what the hell are you doing? I remember in the media room just going on a tangent. Like, I can't believe that's the route you went. And it's been worse. It's been worse for these linebackers. Barrett Carter, by the way, was in consideration in round 2. They get him in round 4. Probably shows you that they were a bit off on their grades when it came to these linebackers in a bad linebacker class overall. And I'm not saying that those two will be bad, but man, they're in a tough spot. All of these decisions, only adding TJ Slayton, like it seemed ridiculous at the time. Keeping Geno Stone seemed ridiculous at the time.
Discount. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. What'd you do with that discount? Right? It just not adding a true bona fide pass rusher that could help complement what you have. And we're going to get to Trey Hendrickson coming up in a few minutes. All of these concerns, all of these thoughts, all of the things, we said them in March. We said them in February. We said them in April during the draft, in the draft room. I remember I showed one person in the media room. I said, read up on this guy right now. And they said, in this round? In this round? Yeah, you better read up on Demetrius Knight in this round because he's going off the board right now. Ridiculous. Like this is the guy that Al Golden was like, yeah, there's not another linebacker on day 2. We want him more than this guy. What? Everyone could have told you Carson Schlesinger was a better prospect, and obviously he was off the board. Our friends at Big Play Cleveland had already landed him, and he's playing well for the Browns this year. But that's the problem, is it started then. And then all of those concerns, all of that disappointment, all of those things, all of them came true. Like Dax Hill's been a promising player. We're pretty high on Dax Hill. DJ Turner has, I think, surprised some, but we saw it in training camp. He had a day where he had 5 pass breakups and was all over the field in the Bengals indoor facility. Like there have been signs from the guys that have actually showed something. It's not shocking that Joseph Osai has stepped up and played decent. We saw flashes from Myles Murphy, and he's been more consistent in recent weeks. So like some of those things, it makes sense. And the things, their biggest issues, their biggest struggles, we also were worried about at the time. And that's what's the most frustrating thing for me, is none of it's hindsight. Their draft failures, their free agent failures, not doing enough on defense. So yeah, it is the defense. But the most frustrating thing for me is we knew it months and months and nearly a calendar year ago that these were issues that they needed to fix in the offseason. We were saying it on this show and on our channel, Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube. And we weren't the only ones. But it seemed like they ignored it or thought that they could work their way around it or do whatever they thought. But that's why they're 4-9. That's why they're in this position.
Yeah, it's the questionable decisions in regards to the draft and player evaluation and development, but it's also very stubborn, determined, just blinders and focusing, hyper-focus on players that you think, this is our guy. Al Golden, this is our guy. Demetrius Knight, Al Golden would say, this is our guy. We're committed to this. Even DJ Turner, which you just mentioned. I mean, I talked last offseason in 2024 about how they needed help at cornerback. DJ Turner was still there at that time going into the season, and we saw the promise. But yet again, it's, no, this is who we have established. This is our roster. We're committed to them. It's like a culture thing, a morale thing, a confidence building thing. Mm-hmm. Fine. But you're telling me you can't do something to get a little bit of support, some veteran leadership. I like the character of a lot of these players they drafted, and we'll talk about Jermaine Burton in a bit, but a lot of the guys that they drafted, we talked about it in the previous offseason. It was actually Jermaine Burton's draft class. 5 of them were team captains. I get it. I understand the mentality. But somewhere in there, what gets lost is this determination to completely commit to these young players that need the development and not giving them the support they need, not giving them the leadership they need at a position that a player that they could easily get in free agency to be, again, okay, average, maybe even better at a good deal. They did it earlier this decade. Why can't they do it again and sign some impactful free agents? It blows my mind.
And so that's where the discussion takes another step forward. The other frustrating thing is the fact that, you know me, like I multitask like a crazy man. Like you do, you know that. Like I
probably have a trade offer from you right now, and it's past the trade deadline in fantasy.
In a fantasy league, yeah. Like I multitask.
It's like a text because you're trying to circumvent the rules of
boom, boom, boom. I'm doing a bunch of stuff, right? The Bengals front office in free agency, they were focused on Jamar and T. Two contracts they better get done, and they should have gotten done, and they did get done.
All the resources exhausted.
Not in that week. Not in the first week of free agency. Like, What are you doing? Like go get a safety, go get a linebacker. Like if Al Golden says linebacker's a need, we need a real linebacker. Well, don't go into the draft needing at least one and being willing to take 2 when it's a weak linebacker draft. Spend a little bit more and get a quality player that's ready to go now. By the way, I know a lot of family members of Bengals players watch this channel. If I'm critical of your family member, of the player in your family, it's not personal. It's very much and no one's said anything to me or anything, but I just want to make it clear. It's not personal, but the process is the process. And so for Demetrius Knight, probably should have been a 3rd round pick, not a 2nd round pick. But it's really hard if you're a win now team to say, all right, Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter, go start meaningful games against Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and all of these guys, to your point. By the way, those 2 linebackers have answered every question. They've been willing to talk. I do think character-wise, that they're made of the right stuff, and maybe they end up being really good NFL players. Really tough spot that they've been put in because it's a win-now situation, a situation where the Bengals defense needed to be better. It was clearly the reason they didn't win last year. It's getting a lot of blame now. It's not the only reason they've lost these games, and they've shown some flashes as a defense overall, but let's be real here. It's been a thorn in the Bengals side now for multiple years, and so, Andrew Fox Miller's most frustrating thing about the 2025 Bengals, the defense. And Al Golden. Remember, Zach Taylor's the one who told you Al Golden was the guy they needed to bring in. So I just want to make that very, very clear for everybody because Al Golden's taking a lot of heat. Well, that's Zach's guy. Mike Brown didn't know Zach Taylor as well as Al Golden did, right? And by the way, I'm not saying move on from any of them right now. I'm going to let this play out a bit more, but I get the frustration. Speaking of frustration, Trey Hendrickson was frustrated with the Bengals organization all offseason long. The Bengals probably frustrated with Trey. His season is done. We will discuss Trey Hendrickson's future coming up next. Bengals star pass rusher Trey Hendrickson underwent core muscle surgery on Tuesday. His season is over. Welcome back to End of the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. And look, Andrew, this has been a rough season for Trey Hendrickson, dating back to the offseason. He wanted to get paid. I remember talking to people at the Combine about specific numbers that they should offer him. And then boom, the pass rusher market goes up. It gets weird. Ultimately, he took a $13 million raise this season and will be a free agent this offseason. Just rough coming off of back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. Do you think that Trey Hendrickson, who's a free agent to be in March, the Bengals could tag him? Do you think he's played his last down as a Cincinnati Bengal?
It feels that way. And maybe I'm saying this out loud so that I can talk myself out of the idea that we're going to go into this. We're going to go into like February, March, and it just be this drawn out process where we have to hear all about the negotiating and this and that. And they're going to tag, they're not going to tag. But it feels that way. I know and you mentioned it, the idea of placing this franchise tag on Trey, is it worth it now? Does it benefit the Bengals now? I have to think the value of tagging Trey has changed regardless of whether or not you're still on board with the move. But it adds an interesting wrinkle into all of this. I'm going to go with the mindset that he's not around. But then again, maybe I'm saying that because it's felt that way, really, of course, since October.
I don't think so. I think this is I think this whole situation's been weird. He obviously didn't go on injured reserve since the Jets game when he gets hit, not seeing it, limps off the field really gingerly. And so it's a core muscle injury, and core muscle injuries can be tricky. I know multiple players that have had certain injuries evaluated because that's where they feel pain or hurt or whatever, and then it ends up being a core muscle injury. I get it. But man, oh man, is this situation, did it blow up in everyone's face? I think the Bengals would say, oh, well, we're good. We didn't commit to him long-term. Core muscle injury isn't a long-term thing. That's not an age thing.
Yeah.
Guys, that happens to guys that are 22, 23 years old. It's really a non-issue when it comes to long-term. Trey is expected to miss 6 weeks. The Bengals aren't going to be in the hunt, or not expected to be playing then. By the way, if they were, and there's like a 3% chance they make the playoffs, Trey better get his butt back. And I think
I was going to say, are you predicting it's not going to be the last time we're going to see Trey because he'll be in the Super Bowl? What are we doing?
No. But I do think it probably is the last time we see Trey. I'm not willing to say that's the right decision. Sure. I need to see other moves first. How does the final 4 weeks of the season go? What do they do coaching staff wise? Does anything happen coaching staff wise?
What do they do with the money they could have used on Trey? That's always going to be a mystery to me.
A lot of things. But looking at it now, if Trey has played his last down and he signs elsewhere in free agency, they clearly should have traded him. And this goes along with kind of the theme of the show. A big frustrating part of this is it feels like the multitasking ability just doesn't exist at Paycor Stadium. And I know that's not true. Like I know they have smart people. Like people are going to laugh at this. I know they have smart people working in that building. But if you knew that things were contentious, if you knew that the market shifted, if you knew that it was going to be really hard to get a long-term deal done, and you were questioning it, well, then get your second round pick, free up that money before free agency, and go get some dudes. Like, go get the linebacker you need so you're not forcing it with Demetrius Knight. Go get this guy, that guy, and that's it. That's it. The overall plan to me, and I know they had a plan, whatever it was, I hated it. Yeah. And I did not like it, and it needs to be better. And so did Trey play his last down as a Bengal? He very well could have. Arguably, and probably not even arguably, the best free agent signing in Bengals history. He's been awesome. I remember the night he signed, it was like, man, he only had 1 year of production. It was a good Saints defensive front. No one could have predicted that he becomes an all-pro pass rusher, defensive player of the year runner-up last season, and someone that I think will get paid this offseason, whether it's here in Cincinnati or elsewhere. So good luck to Trey. Hopefully he gets healthy. And honestly, I sort of hope I'm wrong. I hope he stays in Cincinnati. I hope they find a way to get a long-term deal done, or at least a 1 year deal where he could come back, sack the quarterback, and hope the Bengals get back to the playoffs.
Yeah. And not to rehash past offseason yet again, but you mentioned it. If the plan was to make it work with Trey, but then you don't want to commit to long-term, it's like, which is it? If you value him and you realize that he is the most important person on this defense heading into the season, I feel like you would have done more with him. So either trade him because you believe so much in your team and your draft picks, or commit to him and show that through these negotiations and getting him around for a few more years. I don't know. I could probably print the transcript from this entire episode. I do not want to be reading it verbatim like this time next year. I'll just be reading it like it all still applies. I hate it.
I think they were split in the building with Trey, and that's why they were kind of wishy-washy. Because it is what it is. That's all I could say right now. But up next, coming up, we got to get to Jermaine Burton. But up next, it's time to look at the odds. The Bengals, their odds to win the division aren't as bad as you might think. Plus, like I said, Jermaine Burton around the corner right here on Enter the Jungle. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien, and it's time to look at the Week 15 odds. The Bengals, home underdogs again. We will get to those odds coming up in just a second. Brought to you by FanDuel. You know how fast NFL games move. There could be one play that changes everything. We saw that against the Bills with the Joe Burrow interception. That's why live betting on FanDuel is a game changer. With FanDuel, you can bet in real time while the game unfolds. Score just flipped. Jump on a new spread, live money line. You can do same game parlays, live parlays, prop bets, doesn't matter. FanDuel has it all. So whether you're riding the momentum, fading the hype, FanDuel puts you right in the middle of every moment. Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to download the app and bet the NFL live all season long. That's FanDuel.com/bigplay. You must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit rghelp.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Paid endorsement. Let's dive into these odds, Andrew, because boy, oh boy. One thing they said on the broadcast during the Bills game, and it was killing me. They were like, if the Bengals win today, they're going to be favorite. This is the last time they'll be underdogs all year. And I was like, yeah, maybe if they win today, but if they don't, they're going to be underdogs against the Ravens, and they are. -2.5. The Ravens favored by 2.5 points now over the Bengals on Sunday. And the Bengals division odds, by the way, in the AFC North, they went from +850, last week. Now +1,400. So if you think the Steelers are going to drop 3 or 4, if you think the Bengals are going to win out, if you think the Ravens are going to lose not just this Sunday, but another game, that's all that needs to happen. +1,400. Your thoughts on the division odds and them being home underdogs on Sunday?
I mean, talking about the game specifically, I think this is more or less of a win-loss or like money line type spread. I mean, if you're covering 2.5 points, you're probably winning the game. Not obviously. I don't know. The spread tells me there's confidence in the Ravens responding clearly after their 42-14 loss to Cincinnati. And that was on the road. Now the Ravens are in Cincinnati. Logically, I think this is a Bengals team that is very capable of beating this Ravens team. It obviously happened once very recently. Logically, I think the odds of Joe Burrow throwing back-to-back picks like he did against the Bills, one of which was a pick six, is very low. But I don't like how any of this feels, James. Like, I don't like how any of this defense, it can't prove that it's found its footing. I don't like Joe Burrow's demeanor, his defeated tone following the Bills loss. I personally wouldn't even touch this game with my money. Like, that's the logic I'm riding on.
I get it. I do. I think Jamar Chase is going to have a big game, especially with T. Higgins in concussion protocol again. Will it be enough? I'm not sure. We're going to have you covered all week long on the YouTube channel, Cincinnati Bengals Talk. One thing we do know, the Bengals will not have Jermaine Burton. We'll put a bow on the Jermaine Burton Bengals era coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien, and the Bengals said farewell to Jermaine Burton this week. They waived Jermaine on Monday. I heard he missed the flight to Buffalo. Whether or not that's true, whatever. Look, he's had so many of these issues, Andrew, and that's what I want to point out here, because a lot of people are going to point out, oh, he's a third-round pick. He clearly has some skills. He does. He couldn't get anything right when it came to just doing the basic stuff, showing up for practice, showing up for meetings, being engaged in meetings, knowing where to go, all of those things. And last year, a lot of this stuff was aired out publicly. Like, we had reports on it. We had multiple exclusive reports on BengalsTalk.com. This year, it was just kind of like, yeah, Jermaine's done it again. Like, he's been late this time, or he's done this time, or and that's it, man. You can't do it. If you went back and listened to what Nick Saban said when they drafted him, it was the 80th pick. it was exactly that, the consistency and just doing the basic stuff away from the field. He's not reliable. Maybe he'll be reliable one day, but he certainly wasn't in a year plus in Cincinnati.
Yeah. I mean, after all said and done, like, I don't know who to blame or if it even matters as far as like
I know
Zach, Duke, so on and so forth. Like, okay, you could take every angle of hindsight on that pick, being Jermaine Burton in the 3rd round. I don't think anything that we've ever said really changes about him. The Bengals took a risk drafting him. Maybe it could have been a 1st rounder. Certainly would have been a 2nd if it wasn't for the character concerns. He fell to the 3rd. Zach Taylor loved it, pounding his arms on his chair. This is more about
make me mad. Yes.
Again, those are all facts that didn't change. You took the risk. You didn't get what you wanted out of it.
Yeah.
If anything, it's like, okay, good for you for just moving on and cutting ties. Maybe should have happened sooner. I don't know what all was happening behind the scenes. We heard some things, but yeah.
I think that tells you how unreliable he was.
Yeah.
This Bengals team and coaching staff, like they will give you chance after like if he was working hard behind the scenes and doing everything and clocking in and clocking out like he should, he'd still be here. Let's be real here. That wasn't the case. And I'm never, ever going to forgive them for taking a guy that we didn't even talk about pre-draft because we just didn't think they'd take him. Jalen McMillan was right there. He's dealt with an injury this year, but it's clearly a better player. And you know who else was there? My guy, Troy Franklin. I'm not letting anybody forget it. Anyways, when it comes to receivers, man, they just let me handle it. We'll do the rest later. Let me handle it. Because there were only a couple of receivers that have worked out in that draft class. Ladd McConkey, who was high on him. Who else?
Yep.
Troy Franklin.
Yep.
Anyways, for Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. Clearly, I like to tell everyone how right I was, not in hindsight. I appreciate you watching and listening to Enter the Jungle right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk and FanDuel Sports Network.